Most people believe that during a traffic stop, they can stay seated inside their vehicle. They think as long as they haven't committed a serious crime, they have a right to remain right where they are. That's what they believe. And that belief can put you in handcuffs faster than you can say, "I know my rights. I'm a lawyer." This is educational content only. This is not legal advice for your specific situation. No attorney-client relationship is created here. But I've watched countless everyday Americans turn routine traffic stops into full-blown arrests because they didn't understand one critical Supreme Court ruling. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly when police can legally force you out of your vehicle, what actually happens if you refuse, and the one sentence that protects your rights without getting you arrested. Let's jump right in. The Supreme Court ruling that changed everything. Here's the truth most people don't know. Police can order you out of your vehicle during any lawful traffic stop. No additional reason required. That authority comes from a 1977 Supreme Court case called Pennsylvania versus Mims. Let me paint the picture. Philadelphia, 1970. A man named Harry Mims is driving with an expired license plate. Officers pull him over for what should have been a simple citation. One officer orders Mims to step out of the car. Not asks, orders. The moment Mims stands up, the officer notices a large bulge under his jacket. A pat-down reveals a loaded revolver. Mims is arrested for carrying a concealed weapon without a license. Why Mims fought and lost? Mims fights the case all the way to the Supreme Court. His argument sounds reasonable. The traffic stop was for an expired plate. Nothing more. The officer had no justification to order him out of the vehicle. Therefore, everything that followed should be thrown out as an illegal search. The Supreme Court disagreed. In a decision that permanently changed traffic stops in America, the court ruled, once a traffic stop is lawful, an officer may order the driver out of the vehicle for any reason or no reason at all. Officer safety. The court's reasoning. The court based its ruling on officer safety. They cited studies showing that roughly 30% of police shootings occurred while officers approached someone seated inside a vehicle. The court weighed the minimal inconvenience to the driver against the legitimate interest in officer safety. And officer safety won. Here's the key part. The officer does not need to see a weapon. They do not need to suspect you're dangerous. They do not need any individualized reason specific to you. The general safety risk present in every traffic stop gives officers automatic authority to order you out. Passengers are not exempt. 20 years later, the Supreme Court went further. In Maryland versus Wilson, the court extended this same authority to passengers. That means now, during any lawful traffic stop, police can order the driver out, the passengers out, anyone in the vehicle to exit. Same reasoning. Officer safety. Bottom line. If you're lawfully stopped for anything, a broken tail light, speeding, expired registration, the officer has the legal right to order you out of the vehicle. Period. Request versus order. The difference that saves you. Now here's where people get burned. There is a massive legal difference between an officer asking you to step out and ordering you to step out. Most people miss it. When an officer says, "Hey, would you mind stepping out of the car?" Or "Can you step out so we can talk?" That is a request. Requests are optional. You may politely decline. But when an officer says, "Step out of the vehicle," or "I need you to exit the car now," that is a lawful order. Refusing a lawful order can get you arrested for obstruction. Why officers sound polite on purpose? Here's the problem. Officers are trained to blur the line. They use soft language that sounds like a request but functions as a command. "I'm going to need you to step out." Sounds polite. Legally, it's an order. So what do? You clarify. The one sentence that protects you. The moment an officer mentions exiting the vehicle, you ask one question. Calmly, respectfully, on camera. "Officer, are you asking me or ordering me to step out of the vehicle?" That sentence does three things. First, it forces clarity. If they're just fishing, they may back off. Second, if they confirm it's an order, you now know you must comply to avoid arrest. Third, you've created a record on the body camera showing you understand the difference between voluntary and compelled actions. How to respond word for word. If they say it's a request, you can respond, "I'd prefer to remain in my vehicle." If they say it's an order, you comply immediately while stating, I'm complying with your order. That matters. It shows you are not voluntarily waiving rights. You are obeying a lawful command. What happens if you refuse? Let's talk consequences. They are immediate, and they are serious. Picture this. You're stopped for a broken tail light. The officer says, "I need you to step out of the vehicle." You say, "No, I'm staying in my car." The officer repeats the order. You refuse again. Backup is called. Multiple patrol units arrive. What started as a minor violation is now a perceived high-risk encounter. You're given a final warning. If you don't exit now, you will be arrested. You still refuse. That's when officers open the door by force, physically remove you, and place you in handcuffs. You are now under arrest for obstruction, resisting a lawful order, or interference with law enforcement. Real-world charges and penalties. In New Jersey, that's obstructing the administration of law, a disorderly person's offense. In Pennsylvania, it's resisting or interfering with an officer, a summary offense. Penalties often include hundreds or thousands in fines, possible jail time up to a year, a permanent criminal record, and legal fees. Here's the worst part. Once you're arrested, officers now have legal grounds to search you and potentially your vehicle incident to arrest. The very thing you were trying to avoid, you just handed to them. Real example. How it goes wrong. I've seen this happen. Driver stopped for speeding. Officer orders him out. Driver refuses, citing the Fourth Amendment. Officer arrests him for obstruction. During the arrest, they search him and find marijuana in his pocket. Now he's facing obstruction charges plus possession charges, all because he didn't understand that once the stop is lawful, the exit order is lawful. Your rights matter, but they do not include the right to refuse a lawful exit order. Fight it in court, not on the roadside. Exit order does not equal search. Now let's kill one of the biggest myths out there. Being ordered out of the car does not automatically allow a search. That idea is wrong. Dead wrong. Listen carefully. The authority to order you out under Pennsylvania versus Mims is completely separate from the authority to search. Two different legal standards. Exit order, noxious officer safety. Search of your person requires reasonable suspicion that you're armed and dangerous. Search of your vehicle requires probable cause, your consent, or a recognized exception like plain view. Where people mess up, here's the common mistake. Officer orders you out. You comply. Then the officer asks, "You don't have anything illegal in the car, right? You mind if I take a quick look?" And the driver says, "Sure." You just waived your Fourth Amendment rights. Consent cures almost every legal defect. Never consent to searches. Why? Because you don't know what's in your vehicle. A passenger could have left something. Something could have fallen under a seat months ago. If they find it, it's on you. The SMART protocol, step by step. Here's the correct protocol. Step 1. Clarify request versus order. Step 2. If ordered, state, "I'm complying with your order to exit the vehicle." Step 3. Hands visible. Movements slow. Narrate actions. "I'm unbuckling my seatbelt." Step 4. If asked to search, say clearly, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches of my person or my vehicle." Step 5. If questioned, you may say, "I'm exercising my right to remain silent." Step 6. If the stop drags on, ask, "Am I free to leave or am I being detained?" Step 7. Stay calm. Always. Let them be aggressive on camera, not you. Final takeaways. Police can legally order you out of your vehicle during any lawful traffic stop. That authority comes from Pennsylvania versus Mims and Maryland versus Wilson. Refusing that order will get you arrested. But the exit order does not grant automatic search authority. Your power is clarity. Ask, comply, refuse consent. Stay silent. Document everything. The fight happens in court. On the roadside, you survive, you protect yourself, and you go home. If this helped you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more content that keeps you informed and legally protected. Share this with family and friends, because everyone needs to know this. Educational purposes only. Laws vary by jurisdiction. Consult a qualified attorney for advice specific to your situation. Stay safe out there. And remember, knowing your rights only works if you know how to use them.